Hello, everybody. I'm Valerie Gilchrist, and I'm broadcasting from Augusta, Georgia. My broadcast name is Esther's Purpose, and my guest today is Cheryl Hurley from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're on WYTV from Charlotte, North Carolina. Before I introduce Cheryl, I want to say that WYTV is a nonprofit organization, and we do take donations that we use to broadcast nationally and internationally. Our listeners are from across the globe and are encouraged by our broadcast. Through Esther's Purpose, listeners who have been or going through various trials of life actually can watch this broadcast and remain on course and be encouraged that no matter whatever it is that you're going through, that you will come out in victory and win and with purpose. So that being said, I want to introduce my guest today, who's Cheryl Hurley. Cheryl is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She is a leadership, mindset, and wellness coach with Living Strong Consulting, LLC. She adds value by teaching women how to take their traumatic experiences and turn them into teachable life experiences, useful to fulfill their unique purpose. She has coached as well as ministered to countless individuals as well as women across the past 25 years who have turned their pain into purpose. She is also an author of Empowered, Resilient, and Uniquely You. This is Cheryl. Cheryl, hello. How are you today?
Hello, Valerie. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing great.
Awesome.
I'm just really glad that you came on with me today.
Yes. Looking forward.
All right, Miss Cheryl. Now, the good thing is that this is not the first time we had a conversation, so we're going to relax and we're going to talk to each other just like we did before. Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine. Yes.
All right. Wonderful. Now, Cheryl, what I'd like for you to start out by doing, before we talk about how awesome you are now and all of the wonderful things that you're doing that I just talked about, I want to talk about who is Cheryl. Share with us the things that you've been through, some of the things you've been through in your life that brought you to where you are now.
Yes. Cheryl is somebody who, Valerie, thank you for that introduction. But when you ask me who I am, it's just amazing to just say that I am first a servant to many, an humble person who has gone through many traumatic experiences of my own, from my childhood to my teenage years, to my early young adult years, into my seasoned or my mature years. And all of those things I have taken as opportunities to learn from them, life lessons, and to share with other women. And that's why I'm most passionate about impacting the lives of women who have been faced with traumatic experiences, that they can turn them around and use them as teachable moments to walk in their purpose. So that's who Cheryl is. That's who Cheryl is. I empower, inspire, and motivate.
Amen. Now, Cheryl, before you were doing all of that, though, you were just Cheryl and you were navigating life.
Okay. Cheryl was that person who was raised in what we call the inner city of Philadelphia, the bottom. In the bottom, I had some bottom experiences. I was raised by a single mom. My mom and dad separated early on. My grandmom, the matriarch of the family, lived with us. And I saw a lot of struggle. I saw a lot of struggle during my childhood years. My mom was in a domestic violent relationship. I saw that. And a lot of those things that I experienced, they became signature points for me. And they became my bottom lines. Never will I be in an abusive relationship. Never will I allow somebody to take advantage of me. Never will. And those beliefs that I hold true to today, they started in my childhood.
Well, okay, now you talked about that you actually witnessed your mother being abused.
Oh, yes, I witnessed my mom being abused by my dad.
And so how did that impact you as a little girl? Now, yes, you talked about how you made decisions later, but as that child watching your parents go through that, how did that impact you then?
It impacted me greatly. First of all, it made me question my sense of self-worth and my sense of purpose, because when I think about my dad, that wasn't just any old man, that was my dad.
Right.
Causing harm to my mother. And that wasn't just any woman, that was my mother. It made me question, okay, does he love her? Are we important? Do we matter? And it was very traumatizing. And I will also say it made me question relationships between men and women.
Okay.
And when it came into that time of my life of dating, we couldn't play tag. Like if you touched me, my first thought was you were going to try to hurt me.
Okay.
It shifted my whole perspective, because what I saw during my childhood, it made me question anytime someone dared to hurt or cause pain. That was a no-no. That was a no-no.
So what I hear you say is that you were very guarded.
Very guarded, Valerie, very, very, and I'll have to say, even into my adult years, I took that feeling of being very guarded into my adult years. And it was through having a relationship, blessed with a wonderful husband of 37 years. He taught me how to let the guard down. Because even in the workplace, if you were a male superior, I was guarded. Because what happens in our childhood, it truly does affect us in our adult years. So guarded is I would say very guarded. Yes.
And so when you're guarded like that, you really cannot get from relationships a lot of times what we need to get. There is value in relationships that we end up missing out on. And I literally mean both ways.
Yes.
Not just you receiving from that person, but your ability to pour out to another individual, even when there's somebody that might be really needing you.
Yes.
And even in our children's lives, after we have children, and our children might really need us. So talk to me about, how did you now translate all that you went through and able to raise your children without making them feel, because sometimes when we've gone through stuff, we want to protect our children. And we want to keep them from, and it's all out of love, from them being harmed. But how do we take that and not be overly burdening our children with stuff we suffered, so that they might be shied away and not really understand why they're shied away like that? So how did you navigate that with your children?
Well, what I will have to say, I have an adult son and an adult female. My daughter was in a very, very toxic relationship that was very difficult for me. Not only was it difficult for her, but it was difficult for me. Now, she was very protected as a child growing up, and because of that need to guard, not only was I guarded, I also guarded both my son and my daughter. This daughter, she seemed to be more free-spirited, so I felt the need to not only guard but protect. So when she went away to school, and she went away to college, and she found herself in a very toxic relationship, this person was abusive. It brought back it was a trigger for me, because it brought back some of those things that I experienced or witnessed with my mom and my dad. And I then I took on a whole different persona. No longer was just her mom, I was her protector. I was everything that I needed to be to her to make sure she understood that she mattered. And what happened was that I would have to say, because something you asked is very significant, is that I think that with that guarded persona that I operated in from many perspectives, even with her, it wasn't that she immediately told me that she was in a toxic relationship. It was through things that I observed, and I started to ask questions, because I'm very inquisitive, and I started to ask her some questions, and it slowly came out what was going on. She was in this relationship for probably, I'm going to say, 8 months before I found out just how severe it was.
Wow. Right. Well, and do you think that some of that, her sharing with you, because I know even with my own children, they heard so much about my life, when they saw themselves going down, even whether it was conscious or unconscious, maybe some of those same roads, they didn't openly share it with me. So it sounds like your daughter was doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Because once they kind of see it, but then, and now they're starting to understand what mom was trying to say, but now I'm here. And I thought that I wouldn't do that, right? Because a lot of times when our parents are talking to us, they're saying, oh, I'll never do. I mean, I can remember one of my children saying that to me. I'll never do that. Never. But then all of a sudden they find themselves there, and now they can't come to us. right?
Yes, yes,
Right.
exactly, exactly. And the thing about it is that with that garden, and because we had an opportunity to have a conversation previously, one of the things is that when I share some of the challenges and the struggles that I went through as a child, and even in school growing up, I always had this persona that if you looked at me, you had to be in my inner circle to know what was really going on. So a lot of times, like, I also represented a pillar of strength. So because of how I raised my daughter and the strength that I walked in, she felt that it would be a disappointment if she shared with me what she was going through.
Well,
now,
let me ask you this, Cheryl.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, but do you think it was a disappointment thing, or maybe even a almost prideful thing? And what I mean is, because we know how our children are.
Yes.
Openly telling us, oh, well, I'll never do what you did.
Yes.
And now that you find yourself there, now it's, okay, how do I go back and face my mom when I told her I would never do that?
I will have to say, because we have talked about it, I think I truly do believe it was disappointment.
Okay.
Because of the choice that she made.
Okay.
Realizing that sometimes, you could find yourself in a situation where you're not seeing the full picture of the choices or the decisions that you're making. And I think that she felt disappointed that she chose to be in a relationship with someone that was so opposite of of her dad, number one, of how she was raised and how she knew she should be treated. So I think it was a disappointment to tell Mom, I really don't want to tell you that this is the person that I'm involved in, but eventually she had no choice. So I'll have to say I do believe it was more disappointment.
Okay, all right. Well, we talked about how sometimes it's hard for us to go and talk to our parent or even friend.
Yes.
So I do want to share that there is an 800 number for national domestic violence that I want to share with everyone right now for just a moment.
Yes.
It's 800 number. It's 1-800-799-7233, and which is 800-799-SAFE, which is 7233. There's also a website that you can go to where you can actually reach out and get help, because everyone can't navigate this. Everyone doesn't have a close relationship, whether it's with a parent or even a friend, or even if we do, there is shame a lot of times that's attached to when we allow someone to violate us that way. And sometimes it's easier to call and talk to somebody that you don't really know, so that you can open up. So I wanted to make sure that we shared that telephone number for the National Domestic Violence. And I want to say again, that number is 800-799-SAFE.
Yes.
So that they can, get someone that might need to, help them in an easier way.
Yes.
Right. And maybe even in a non-judgmental way, because I know you don't know me.
Yes.
So thank you for letting me interrupt you for just a moment with that, Cheryl.
Sure.
So what I want to talk about is now, how did what happened with you at home with you as a child, even now transitioning to what happened with your daughter, and you having to help her, how did that take you to what you do now? Tell me about that.
What I recognize is that a lot of people are, and I don't want to speak in general terms, but what I do want to say, though, I do really believe that women are silently struggling with pain and hurt. And because of the stigmas that are associated, they're afraid to share, this is how I'm feeling. I am hurting. We can mask it up on the outside and we can look phenomenal.
Beautiful, don't we?
Absolutely top.
Yes.
On the inside.
Yes.
And what happens is that when I saw, because when you're working with individuals outside of your home, that's one thing. But when it knocks on your door, and that situation with my daughter knocked on my front door, and it let me know just how severe and how critical and how common it was. And I said, no. It just kind of took what I do to a whole nother level.
Yes.
Because I just saw these women. I've seen them in the household of faith. I've seen them in the boardrooms. I've seen them in the work. I've seen them all over. But again, they're silently not telling their stories. They're not letting it be known that they're hurting. And I'm drawn to that, because when I recall how I felt when I saw my dad, that was hurtful.
Yes.
It was hurtful. So I am acquainted with the hurt. And if I see it, I can walk in a room, Valerie, and I can pick up hurt just like I can pick it up.
Woo,
but if I would look at it from journals, it looked like Neiman Marcus.
Okay.
It looked good. But I'm like, Oh, but I actually, because I am very non-judgmental, I try to give people their space. But I prayerfully look for a way to reach them because my goal is to stop the pain. Stop the pain. Stop the pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Cheryl. So when you approach someone, tell me about how that approach is. Because I know, because I've had a lot of hurt and pain in my life, and I'm like you, I can see it, smell it, taste it, touch it. I can look at someone and I know it's there.
Yes.
And if I can tell that there is a crisis moment right then,
yes,
and, you know, and I want to embrace that. I had to learn over time that sometimes I couldn't approach right then. Sometimes I had to wait. I had to develop a relationship first of trust. There are times that I had to be transparent. I had to figure out how to talk to you and kind of share my life that'll get you to do it. So tell me, what do you do? How do you now approach someone in your business with what you do and get them to open up and talk to you so that you can coach and help them?
One of the things that I try to do, and something key that you said, is develop a relationship. Relationship is so important because we can't just charge and tell a person, because I can look at you and see what you're going through, but I try to be very sensitive and use question sensitivity or try to establish a rapport just to share something about myself. You know, I might compliment, I might offer a compliment. It could be, oh, your hair is beautiful, your skin is beautiful, or something to kind of set the atmosphere. And then they may say something. And one of the things that I operate from is active listening. So I'm going to listen very intuitively to what you say as well as what you don't say. And I'm going to use that as an entryway to start a conversation. And I might pull something out of my reservoir, something that I've experienced, and just share. And I will typically see an eyebrow raise, like, did she just say? And see, I'm connecting them, because see, once I start to connect and engage them, then they start to open up. And I might ask one little simple question, and then I'll just see the eyes water up, and then then we just start a conversation. But one of the things that I recognize is that people want to be heard.
Yes, they do.
They want to be heard. And the first thing is they want to feel that they're sharing in a safe place. And one of the things for me is to create a safe atmosphere. I don't want a person to feel like they're sitting in front of a therapist, but I want them to feel like they're sitting in front of somebody who genuinely is concerned about how they're feeling and how I might help and support them. So oftentimes it's not about a whole lot of questions, but it's listening and sharing, and then allowing them to drop a little nugget. And then you're like, oh, okay, here we go. We start the conversation. Just the other evening, I was with a friend. We had met 2 weeks ago because we're finishing up a published work that's going to come out in sometime in September. And she was in a situation, and I said to her, I said, well, what are you going to do about that? And she said, you know, I don't know, but I think I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, why is it that you've gone through all of these programs and you've done this and you've done that, and you're not more successful with all of your intelligence, your expertise, your knowledge, your connections? And they said, well, maybe it's because I don't feel good enough about myself. And I said, you don't feel good enough about yourself? I'm talking to a woman that's absolutely beautiful inside out, able to, most effective, but didn't feel good. So later on, we met 2 weeks later, and I had said something to her, and I said to her, I said, so where are you at now? She said, can I share something with you? She said, you challenged me to think about something. And I didn't give her an answer. She said, and I came present with where I was and what I was going through. And she said, what I recognize is that I was taking on things and I was doing things that I really didn't want to do. I got no enjoyment out of it. And you made me see that I need to shift and know when to say no and when to say yes. And my pain, I'm over my pain that I've gone through, because she was coming out of a divorce. She said, I'm over that. However, I still had all of these things that I was still indulging in that were getting in my way. So she said, I released them. So I just asked her, I said, can you tell me, what did I do for you? I said, tell me, what did I do for you? She said, you listened intuitively. She said that you didn't come with a big plan about this is what you should do. You listened. And then you gave me a song. And there's a song, and I can't recall the name of the song, but the words say, each step is strange and new, but I don't know what I'm going to do, but my eyes are still on you. And it's basically a song that talks about when you're in the struggle, when you're in the midst of life, and you have all this uncertainty, and you're looking for, what can I do? And that song says, but I'm trusting him. I'm trusting him to lead me and to guide me and to direct me. And then she said further, she said that you're not judgmental. You're not going to say you ought to do this. You're basically offering me an option to tap into what it is I could do. And she said, you made me see that my purpose was greater than what I was facing or what I was dealing with. And you made me kind of look beside that, and you showed me what you saw in me. So I said, she said, that's what you do. She said, you do it all the time. But she said, you do it naturally that you don't even realize that's what you're doing. And I kind of chuckle, because oftentimes I like to ask people, what is it that I do for you? Because people say, oh, I appreciate, but what is it that I do? They said, you help us to see what we don't see. You help us to move past the hurt, past the barriers, and be able to tap into that greater portion of who we are, our purpose, our passion. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, you're going to walk in your passion now? She said, I am.
That is great, Cheryl. That's awesome. Yes. I do want to say and just remind our listening audience that I'm Valerie Gilchrist, and this is Esther's Purpose, which is the program that I do and introduce my guests and bring guests on that can talk about the things that they've been through in life. And I do want to offer this as well, that when I was going through my things, you know how you always want to connect with someone, but sometimes privately you just can't.
Yes.
Joyce Meyer was a great inspiration for me over years as I was getting through my struggles. And she has a particular book, Beauty for Ashes. It is a wonderful resource for those of us that are going through those trials of life. That can kind of help you and realize, and I keyed off of something that you said when you were talking about the beauty that's on the inside of us.
Yes.
You know, a pearl is going through its transformation from that little irritant inside that clam, and what that clam does is it releases, I don't know what you want to call it, but it coats that irritant. And a beautiful pearl comes out of it. That book, Beauty for Ashes, did that for me, where I could read that. And I can listen to her story and then see that what she's doing now. And it encouraged me that I too can get up. I might not get on stages like her, but I can get up out of my ashes, and out of it, beauty can come. So I just encourage people to, to get that resource and just read it and let it minister to your soul when you can't talk to someone else, and even when you can. Because you want to talk to people just like yourself that have been through it. Not still in it, because sometimes we'll take a lot of times and talk to people who are still going through. You can't really help me, and I can't help you. I need to talk to somebody who has been through it. And so Esther's Purpose, I want to bring people on the show who talks about, yes, I was down in it. Yes, this is what it did to me. But Valerie, you know what? Let me tell you what came out of that. Here is my beauty. So talk to me more about what you're currently doing and how it impacts the lives of people.
Yes. One of the things I'll have to share is that last year I went through a very challenging battle with my personal health. Out here doing many of things, and just got sick all of a sudden. And I won't belabor you with all of what I went through, but I was hospitalized shortly, and then I was on bed rest for about 8 weeks. I was on bed rest because I'm the person that, and what I love is because it's the faith base behind Esther's Purpose. I need to say this, that the adversary knew that if he got me down, he was going to come with everything that he had.
Oh, yes.
So I was hit with I usually am the one who's talking people through depression and walking them through the processes. I found myself in a slight depression. And I was like, oh, this is not a comfortable place to be at. So oftentimes when I'm talking to women, I can relate to where they are because I've experienced it. And a lot of times when we experience stuff, it's not necessarily for us. It's so that we're being equipped to help someone else. So I was grateful for that experience, because while I was there lying on that bed, I had two things to do. I either could sit there and wallow in what I was feeling because of the restriction, or I could take the pen and do something that I love to do, is to write. So I'm a journaler. I journal all the time. So what I made a decision to do was just write down, pull together some writings that I had and put them together. And as you were talking about a resource, I published my very first book, Empowered, Resilient, and Uniquely You. This book was not published, and I want our listeners to understand, this book was not published when I was on top of the mountain. It was published when I was what we call a valley place and a very low place. But because our mindset is so important that we renew our minds each and every day. When I tell people about choices, I had a choice to make. Just what I teach and preach, I had to digest it from. So when I began to pull all those writings together, because I'm a process person, and I put little chapters before each story, I kind of incorporated what I was going through. This book came out, and it was less than 2 months before it was published. Now, this is a journal book, and I want to share a little bit with it if I can for our listeners. The title of the book, Empowered. Empowered is so important because for women, our listeners, I don't care what you've gone through, what you're going through, and what you're going to go through. Always recognize that you are empowered, that you're destined. And it's not just a name, because anything and everything that you've gone through, it was for a purpose. Resiliency has to deal with the fact that we're going to have setbacks in our life. We're going to have triggers that occur in our life, but there's always that ability to bounce back. So resiliency talks about those persons who, even in spite of what they went through, they made a choice that I'm going to rise above this stuff and I'm going to be who I've been called to be. Uniquely you, each one of us, you are unique in your own way. I'm unique in my own way, and our listeners are unique in their own way. What I want them to do after each chapter is to read. There's a reflection activity at the end of each chapter, because the goal is, I read chapter 1, and one of the chapters talks about my Red Sea experience, and I equate it to the Red Sea, because we recognize that when they were passing through, they had to cross through the Red Sea. Well, us as individuals, what's that Red Sea in your life that you need to cross through that you can get to the other side? So at the end of each chapter, there are reflection activities that I want individuals to go through. And okay, they read the story or they read that chapter. Now it's like, let me bring it home to me. What is this saying to me? So it's not the book you're reading, but how you can process. So it is so important. And this is something that everywhere I go, I take it, whether I'm doing a PD training, professional development training, whether I'm speaking, doing ministry, inspiration, I take it everywhere, because there's always somebody who has to go through that process for him or herself. But what I appreciate was that opportunity to have experienced that depression, because depression is something that's very real in our society. And it really caused a lot of downfall for individuals because they don't know how to deal with it. So what happens is, like, I try to find what's that thing that you can do that encourages you, and you begin to chew on that.
Cheryl, that all of that information is really good. But before we close up, what I want you to do is quickly tell people, after watching you and they want to contact you, how can they contact you? Because you know what? WYTV is all about educating, empowering, and encouraging people. And so being on the show, I'm sure there are people who are going to listen to this and watch you over and over again. And they might want to reach out and say, something she said really impacted me. So how can they reach you? How can they contact you if they need to?
I could be contacted at Living Strong, my email address is churley, CHURLEY at livingstrongllc.com. That's the email address. I would like to also encourage Living Strong Consulting. We are an organization where we deal with a whole person approach. And everything that we do is based upon the 7 pillars, the 7 bold pillars for living strong. For instance, we challenge individuals to identify where their strengths or struggles lie. So if you're a listener and you feel like you have some struggles in terms of how you deal with your money, your time, your health, your mindset, your relationships, your skill, or your faith, we want you to tap into those 7 pillars. And you can visit our website, which is www.livingstrongllc.com. WYTV7LLC.com.
Okay,
And
thank you so much for that. That's
yes,
great,
yes,
Cheryl.
yes,
What I do want to remind our audience, though, is that WYTV is a nonprofit organization.
yes,
We do accept donations.
yes,
$5 is not too small of a donation. People would be surprised how far even $5 would go. So if they would like to sow a seed into this organization, it would be so appreciated, so that we
yes,
can continue to impact lives. That money
yes,
goes to broadcasting not only nationally, but internationally. But so
yes,
Cheryl, I really, really thank you so very much for your sacrifice of you coming out, the sacrifice of you sharing your story with us, because everyone can't be that
yes,
transparent. Even people who have already been through it, sometimes they just don't
yes,
want to share and open up. So I appreciate that. So you've got about another
yes.
couple of minutes, about 2 minutes. I just want to thank you again for being here, Cheryl, and just share anything else that you might haven't said. Let me get about 2 minutes of you telling me something that you might want to say in closing to continue to encourage the people after they've heard your story today.
In closing, Valerie, I have truly, truly enjoyed this opportunity to share with you and tell my story. But I also want to encourage our listeners that in addition to that, recently I launched a blog, The Flip Side of Adversity, Refocusing Your Perception Through the Lens of Opportunity. And that's basically taking everything you've gone through and refocusing your perception and seeing the opportunities that lie ahead for you. So I'd like to ask, if anybody goes to the website, www.livingstrong.com, they can actually access the blog. We have an insider. If you become an insider, you'll be able to stay connected and stay abreast of every time. It's a weekly blog, and this is our second week. This last week was the first week, this second week, and this week's blog is Overcoming Obstacles. So again, for our listeners, if you have obstacles, if you have challenges that you're going through, we welcome you. We invite you because we pour out our heart. I share each and every week, and I share part of me because I want people to connect and recognize that there's hope at the end of the tunnel, regardless of whatever they've gone through. So I commend you. I applaud you for what you're doing to touch lives. And just know that even though you're in Atlanta, I'm here in Pennsylvania, and we are on the same mission to make sure that our sisters can live the life that they were destined to be. So
Yes,
thank you for this opportunity.
You are welcome. I'm actually in Augusta, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm in Augusta. But yes, I've just so enjoyed this time of just sharing with you. I thought when we talked the first time I had our conversation that I had really gotten an essence, but this time right now has just given me a deeper insight into who you are and what you do. And I'm so grateful and thankful that you gave us this time today. So
yes,
Cheryl,
thank you.
Thank you. I just want you to know that we're just glad that you were here, and just want to tell you that you're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing, and to our listening audience, thank you so very much. And Cheryl and I tell you bye-bye. We'll see you at another time. Thank you so much, all the listeners, for listening to us, and I hope that we've said something today that will encourage you for the future. Bye-bye.
Yes. Yeah. Bye-bye.